How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, man. Today's a good day. Some days aren't lately.
Sure.
You know,
Getting
mentally.
sick of sitting inside all day.
Yeah, it's been like a science experiment, I guess,
Right. One that went on a little bit too long, I feel like.
God. It was nice at first. It not nice. I mean, the fucking pandemic, but it was like, all right, gonna be home for a month, watch
For
movies with the wife.
sure.
And now
Yeah.
I'm like, get me the fuck out of here.
It went from, oh, this is a nice little family time to, oh my
Right.
God, can we get the hell out of here? I feel the same way, man. I got two kids, so it's been two
Where
boys. So
where
it's
you at?
San Diego.
Oh, nice, dude.
Yeah, where are you? You're LA?
My wife and I were in LA, and then in March we moved to a town called Twin Peaks, which is about it's right next to Lake Arrowhead. It's like an
Oh,
hour and a half
okay.
outside of LA. Yeah.
Right on. Nice. I know the area. I know where it is. I don't know it
Yeah.
as well, but that's cool, man. Are you originally from California?
No, I grew up in Philly, and then man, we must have moved out like 12 years ago,
Okay.
and I just love California. I don't know. I love the weather. I love I love the people. I don't know. I really don't. I miss Philly a lot, but I don't miss the humidity. I don't
What
miss like,
the snow and everything?
yeah, there's a lot to deal with.
Right on, man. Yeah, so our podcast is all about your journey in the music industry and how you get where you are now. So how did you get into music originally?
Man, I like growing up in the house, we didn't really have much music. My folks would listen to like Bill Cosby records, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's just like music was kind of just background. I really got into music. I started playing guitar when Nirvana's In Utero record came out.
Oh, rad. Okay.
It was just the right age for me to be like, what is this? And all my friends were playing guitars, so we would get together in the basement and try to figure out tunes, and that was it, man. I was hooked at that point. I was just like, I'm not going to play shortstop for the Phillies. I'm going to play guitar.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, I just went. That was just my brother's always says that I just went into the basement and came out, like in a band like 3 years later. I just played every day. I was obsessed. And then I started playing with bands around town, and then man, when I was in high school, I think we got our first record deal
Oh my gosh.
with Republic.
Wow. In high
Yeah, so
school.
yeah, I mean, I was like touring in high school, and nobody even knew it because I was so quiet. I would go play New York City, come back at like 4 in the morning, go to school at 6:30.
Oh
It
my
was it was crazy. I hated high school though. God, I
God.
just like I was like, get me out of here. I can't read. I don't care. I'm done.
Yeah, it's like pretty much all you need to do is know how to read and maybe some little bit of math. I mean, what a waste of so much time for people that, you know.
And I look back, like, because they had like those, and nobody ever told me about it, but like they had those, like kids would leave in the morning, get on a different bus, and go learn how to fix a car.
Oh, yeah, like trade school kind of.
Yeah. I'm like, man, I would love to know how to change my oil. You know?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
why didn't somebody be like, you should actually do this because you're an idiot and you're not you're not going to college.
All right. I have my older son's 12 and he was in middle school, or he's in middle school, but we took him out to do like homeschooling, and it's amazing how you can get like a month's worth of work done in like a couple days, just
Dude,
because it's so
yeah.
much waste of time like sitting around.
I knew some kids that were homeschooled and they were just way smarter, way more advanced. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's just I feel like you waste so much time just sitting in the classroom like doing mindless stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow, so you got signed to a major label when you're in high school.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like either right at the end of high school or right when I left. It was a blur.
Was
Uh,
it a band or was it just you
yeah,
solo?
it was a band called LaGuardia, and man, we just toured for years. We had a great booking agent, this guy named Kevin French, who's still doing it, and he just put us out, and it was cool, man, because I just went on tour with like bands that would later become like my hero, you know, like Brian Jonestown Massacre and Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, like all these bands were like just studied them, you know, like how they wrote songs, how they walked on stage, how they talk in between this, you know, it was such a crash course for me. I was really blessed to be able to do that.
Wow, you got the tour with Brian Jonestown Massacre?
Yeah, we did a 6 week national tour. And before it went out, I don't know who it was, but it was somebody. It was like, hey, just like Anton is crazy. Like you be very careful out there. And I was really young, man, and I was like super nervous because I was like I wasn't doing drugs. I was just like, man, I drink beer, you know, like I was really nervous it was gonna be out of my league a little bit. And man, the dude was so pleasant and
Was
just
he?
oh, just so lovely, and you know, like the whole thing was just the best experience. So I mean, that's just it's weird though, because when you watch that documentary, you're like,
Yeah,
oh
you're like, God,
man,
this
I
guy's nuts.
toured with this guy, but it's just on a daily basis, the dude was just lovely.
That's cool. And you ended up working with some of the guys in the Brian or Black
Black
Rebel
Rebel, yeah.
Motorcycle Club, yeah, on this new record, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I opened up for Black Rebel so many times, but I was never like on a first name basis with the guys, you know, they were just really just one of my favorite bands. They are one of my
Hmm.
favorite bands. Um and man, I found myself in a situation where I messed my hand up, and it was right I had to start writing the new record, and I was like, man, I was literally taping the guitar pick to my cast.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was under so much pressure to get it done and get it out, and I was like, man, I can't. This is hard. I was really stressed because I record everything myself, you know, like I don't really rely on other people. And
Wow.
I got a text one day from Peter Hayes, and he was like, I hear you need a hand. And I was like, I literally need a hand, yes. And man, he just it started a friendship that it has continued since then. But just one of the most amazing things that ever happened to me was that because he just kind of just got me through the record. You know, he was encouraging and he played guitar. He's like, "Do you mind if I play guitar and send this back to you?" I was like, "Oh man, yeah,
Please
friggin'
do.
favorite guitar player ever. Yeah, fine." But yeah, like it was just such man. I could never thank him for what he did for me. He's just an amazing person.
That's awesome. So, well, okay, LaGuardia was your early bands. You got signed to a major. How did that happen? Were you guys just selling out a lot of places? Like, how did
No,
Republic like find you?
it was so I'm gonna move because the sunlight is just like making me look like powder.
Oh, good, man.
Is this all right?
Yeah, perfect.
Um, yeah, that was no. LaGuardia was like we just toured a lot. We you know we could do okay in Philly or in New York or something, but man, we just they saw something in us that I don't even think we saw. So we just signed I didn't even read the deal. I just signed the deal. So excited. We put out a record, got dropped. I quit that band, which was kind of tough, but I was just like, man, I'm writing so much. And in LaGuardia, like we all kind of wrote, and I was like, man, you know what? I think it was at that point when I started to become obsessed. Like I woke up and I did it, you know, and
Mhm.
I think I was just ready to try something else. So I took my drummer with me, Greg, and we started a band called Eastern Conference Champions, and we recorded 3
That's a
songs.
rad name.
Yeah, we're huge Flyers fans, and we're like, oh, let's call it Eastern Conference Champions, and which was cool in some aspects. Like dudes were like, dude, cool name, man. But when you Google search it, you're an idiot because it never comes up. It comes up like sports.
Yeah.
And it was like to put it on a T-shirt was impossible because it was just like 8,000 letters, you know. But so we recorded 3 songs, I think 4 songs, and man, we signed a deal like really quick with Geffen.
Oh my
The
gosh.
president of Geffen heard the recordings. We never even played a show, and he was just like, I want this."
Oh my gosh.
So
How did
again,
he get his hands on it? Any idea?
I've had this amazing lawyer. Her name is Jennifer Justice, and she's done some pretty amazing things with her life. She was like Jay-Z's main attorney. But she was the one that pulled me out of like these bars in Philly and was like, "You need to. I'm gonna look after you, and I'll help you out." And she went. I mean, she's such a force. Like she would just go into the president of Geffen's office, and they just, they're friendly. And he'd be like, "You got something?" And she's like, "Yeah, I got something." He's like, "Let me hear it." So she played 3 songs. He's like, "I'll sign this today." And that was,
Whoa.
he called, and we couldn't believe it. We're like, "What? Geffen? All right, let's sign with Geffen." And so we did that. And again, that was, we just put out a record and got dropped. We just kept getting signed and getting dropped.
Did they put you on tour also?
Yeah, it was at the
Geffen?
time when we started. We did some UK runs, and yeah, we just kept touring, man. I was like our favorite part of it, bread and butter.
Mhm.
We weren't making very much money, which was tough because you're essentially just filling up the gas tank and making sure we got PDs for food.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, we would just wake up. I would be psyched if I had enough money to buy a pack of smokes and a coffee and like a croissant or something. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
would get me through the day. But when you're young, you just don't care. It was awesome.
Right. Yeah, you'll eat whatever.
Yeah.
Gas station food or whatever the cheapest stuff is. That's rad. Oh, good. So that band ended up. You said you got dropped from Geffen.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And
then
and then we started self-releasing, and actually we put out a record called Speaka. And man, I don't think I understood how good that record was until years later. But it was a bummer that that record didn't come out on a major label because I thought that was a really strong record.
mhm.
And then it got tough, man, because we kept self-releasing and trying to book tours ourselves. We suddenly didn't have any help,
Mhm.
and it was tough because we were in LA, and we'd play Spaceland, we play at every club, open up for everybody, and it just got to the point where it was like, man, this is really hard. This isn't becoming as much fun as I remember, and suddenly I'm
Mhm.
working 2 jobs and going to rehearsals and trying to write. And it was really hard because after like, 10 years or so of being in that band, I was like, I have to leave to get music out, which
Mhm.
sucked, because it was really much a family affair with that band. So that was a really hard decision to make, man. That was brutal. I still struggle with it.
Did you move at this point? You had already made it to LA. You were living in Los Angeles at the time.
Yeah, when my drummer and I signed the Geffen deal, we had, a little bit of cash in our pocket. So we were like,
Mhm.
man, let's get out of Philly. We've done everything we can do here. So we moved to LA. He got an apartment, I got an apartment, and yeah, yeah, it was an exciting time, but still to this day, I don't really have a lot of friends in LA, like I
Mhm.
had in Philly. It's different, I guess.
Mhm. No, totally. Yeah. And then from the Eastern Conference Champions, is that when you decided to start doing your own solo stuff and putting it out as Mondo Cozmo?
Yeah, as soon as I left ECC, I had to make a decision because I was like, I was so heartbroken about leaving Greg and leaving the band.
Hmm.
But I was like, I had this drive in me where I was like, I have a couple ideas on songs. And it started this thing where like I would just go into the studio and I would just have fun and I would just make noise. Because I had nothing, nobody knew, they just assumed the band was done and that I was done. And I was just recording music for myself that I would listen to when I'm driving to work. So
Hmm.
it was liberating in the sense of like suddenly I can't play drums. I need to find a drum loop instead of asking Greg to put drums, which kind
Sure.
of led me down this path of like making songs that sound really weird. Not weird, but like if you listen to like the early stuff like Plastic Soul and Hold On to Me, like I'm using samples and weird triggers to where I would normally be a rock and roll band. I'm suddenly doing things more in tune with like what Beck might do.
Hmm.
And so it was like exciting for me. I was like, man, it sounds weird, but I love it. And I was just doing it for myself. And I was like, it was the most exciting and scary time because I was like, man, I was so sad because I was like, what if I never put out music again or play a live show? You know,
Hmm.
it broke my heart. But, and then one day I just went in and I recorded a song called Shine. And I was just like, as soon as I cut it, I was like, holy cow. I'm like, if this isn't the best thing I've ever written, I don't know. You
And
know?
it ended up doing really, really well for you.
Yeah, it just opened up every door imaginable. It was unbelievable. So thankful for that.
So once you put Shine out, how did you get it to everyone's ears, like the masses? You just put it up on Spotify or something, SoundCloud?
No, my old manager from Eastern Conference Champions was a really great guy. His name was Stephen Melrose, a Scottish guy, and he was living in London at the time. We parted ways earlier, like years earlier, but we stayed very, very close and really friendly. Um, I always remember because he used to represent a guy named Sam Sparrow who had a song called Black and Gold that just kind of took off in the UK and did really well. And I remember Melrose saying years earlier, he said, "This is the easiest job in the world when you have the song." Because people are calling you, you're not calling them. You're saying yes or no to things,
Hmm.
and it's the easiest job when you have the song. And always like it just stuck in the back of my head. So maybe 5 years later, when I had Shine, I was like, man, what do I do? I can't just go to a label and play this. Like you know what I mean? Like, how am I going to do this? So I sent an email to Steven, who was living in London. I was like, man, I haven't talked to you in years, but I remember, you know, and I explained to him what he said to me. This is the easiest job when you have the song, and I'm emailing you to tell you I think I have a song.
Hmm.
And it just, all he wrote back was send it to me. And I emailed him the song, and that was it. He was like, let's go. And he would end up moving to Los Angeles like months later. And we just went, man. We signed a deal with, I signed back to Republic, which was funny because I was like, are they going to be mad that I'm signing with them again? You know, like,
Yeah.
do they know? And
Do they remember you?
they did, yeah. Monty and Avery, they remembered slightly the band, but they loved the story that I signed back with them because I was just like, I
Oh
love
yeah.
them. You know, that's like it was cool for them, I think. But yeah, we signed. Republic just was like all in, said everything right, and we just wanted to go. So we said, yeah, let's go, and then we started releasing songs. We released Hold On to Me, which got a lot of radio play in Los
Hmm.
Angeles on KCRW,
Hmm.
and then we released Plastic Soul, the song, and that kind of just took off. And then Shine was released, and it just started to go.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, man, this is like, we're gonna, you know, it was nuts. That was amazing. And then I had to record a record because Shine was doing so well so quickly. They're like, we need to put out a full length. And I'm like, I don't have a full length. They're like, well, we need a full length. And I'm like, well, I got 6 songs probably. And I'm like, when do you need it by? They're like, we need it in 2 weeks. And
Go
I
write
was,
4 hits in 2 weeks.
yeah. And I was like, all right, I'll get it done. So I went out to Joshua Tree, rented a house, and just didn't sleep. I just knocked it out. And I handed in a 10-song record 2 weeks later. It's
what
crazy.
were what were the 4 songs that you wrote when you
Um,
were out in Joshua Tree?
I wrote Automatic, and then I wrote Chemical Dream, and then Come With Me. I think Angel too. There might have been
Oh.
more. Yeah, I was just flying, and I wasn't. It was kind of this cool thing because there was so much pressure. I was just like trying stuff and moving really quickly, and not because I didn't have time. I didn't have time to like really stress about like is
Right.
this a good vocal? It's like I have to hand this in. So
Yeah. It's
so
almost
it's kind of
like it's like if some people do really well like under pressure as far as like if you procrastinated on something, but you didn't really have, it's kind of like that, but you didn't procrastinate because you didn't have like it wasn't like you have this much time. It's like you have
Right.
2 weeks, let's do it.
It's cool listening to the record now because I'm just like, how the heck? What is that sound? I don't even know what that sound is. I don't know how I wrote that. It was just such a blur. It's kind of cool listening back to it. Like, thank God it turned out good.
Yeah, I know. I know Shine was a massive hit in San Diego. I was on the radio here in San Diego for a number of years, and we used to play Shine on. I was on 91X, and we used to play it a lot. Yeah, so I very fondly remember that song coming out.
That was such a great. I mean, imagine because that year we started touring and like suddenly we booked every festival.
Wow.
We played 26 festivals that summer. 26. I never played one before. You know,
26 festivals.
we played Lollapalooza, Bonnaroo, Sasquatch. We played Reading and Leeds. Suddenly
Oh my gosh.
it was the best summer on the book. But I feel so bad because there's a band right now that had a summer like that booked and it just went away because of the pandemic.
Oh, sure.
I'm like, I talk about it, my manager. I'm like, imagine if this was 2017. Like, we would just, I would be such, oh my God, I'd jump off a bridge. It would suck.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure there's so many bands that had the
Yeah.
song, that just came, and then it's just like, what do you do?
Oh
The
my
one band I can think of right now, and I don't know if they even are affected or what, but like that band Eliza, the Delusionals, I feel
God.
like they had a really huge hit right prior to the pandemic, and it's like I don't know if they're able to tour on it or anything.
Yeah.
But
Man, that sucks.
yeah, it's crazy. Oh my gosh. But then Shine goes to number one.
Yep.
Tell me about that.
I was I was in Joshua Tree and I got like email and it was the day before. They were like, we think it's gonna go to number one. And I was like, what? Like, what dream is this? What? This is not reality. And man, sure enough, next day it was announced, went number one, and I was like, it was just I was so involved with getting the record done, I didn't really have time to like process it. I still don't think I've processed the fact that it went to number one. It's just like so many people worked really hard to make that happen, like all the people at the label and the radio department, like they really
Mhm.
believed in it. It was really beautiful to see. Like they really, really worked hard to make sure that every radio station heard that song and,
Mhm.
and played it. It was kind of cool.
That's crazy. And then once that song that song was number one before you even put the record out or the full album out.
Yeah, and so I
Wow.
I handed in the record the following week after I went number one, and they just fast tracked it to get it out. Um, yeah, it was, and then we were on tour. I went there. We did Kimmel, which was insane.
Wow.
And,
Yeah.
and we start the next day. We didn't even get to watch the Kimmel thing because we had to fly to Toronto, I think, to start the Bastille tour, which was again,
Oh, wow. You toured Bastille.
we did a full American run with Bastille, and it was like 10,000 kids a night, and it was like, what? It
I was
was,
gonna say that if that must have been like insane.
and it was so great 'cause Bastille was just like, they were so. I've never been treated better by a band. Like, just
Really?
I've been doing this for 20. What I mean, I don't know if it's 20, but it's long. And I've toured with some amazing bands that are really great, but I have never been treated better than with Bastille.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. And yeah, and that's awesome to hear when you hear about these bands that are just like bigger than big, and they're just still like humble and rad to the the opening bands and the up and coming bands. I love to hear
Yeah.
that stuff. It's cool.
Amazing.
Wow. So you got to play Kimmel. Was that your first TV experience? Like as far as playing on TV?
My old band did Carson Daly. Remember you?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So that was cool. But yeah, this was like our first really big look, and man, it was terrifying. um,
How does that work? Do they give you like a sound check and stuff?
Yeah, we had the sound check, but again, like the band and I were just getting to know each other because when Sean, after I handed in the record, we had to have auditions
Oh, for players,
for
because you did
players.
it all for yourself.
And like it was super creepy to me because I come from like that band is family world, like you're in a
Hmm.
band, and suddenly like I'm like in Hollywood in some soundstage like auditioning guitar players. And I was like, oh, this is gonna suck. All these people are gonna be phonies. Like, why aren't they in a band? Like, what's wrong with them? What's. And it was just so cool because I single-handedly put together like the most amazing band based off of just like not only as players but also as people. Like these dudes are like just family to me. And it's been years later now, and it's just like our group text is my favorite thing I have. It's like it's going right now. It's just I love them, and but so I put together this band, and then suddenly we were on stage doing Kimmel. You know what I mean? And they're just like, "This is nuts, man."
Whoa, yeah.
And man, it was just we when we did the Bastille thing. I remember like that thought of being like, okay, there's 10,000 people out there for our first show. I remember being like, I can either go out there and just do okay and just try to like not fail. And I was like, or I can go out there and just try to steal the fucker from them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I got nothing to lose, man. I am going to go out there and I'm going to play with all my heart and just with so much conviction try to deliver these songs. And it was a beautiful thing, man, because I really feel like I attacked it and I attacked life at that moment. And it led the band to try to keep up with where I was going with it. And
Hmm.
suddenly, we're playing every night. And suddenly, like, we have one of the better live shows I've ever had in my life. Like, it is like we are on point, and these dudes are just crushing. And we're playing every night. And then suddenly we're doing festivals like every weekend. And it became like kind of like a show you need to see. Like, you need to go see Mondo Cozmo. It's a
Hmm.
hell of a show. And I was really, really proud of that.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah, no, I mean, geez, that's a great like way to think about it too. Like, I can come out here and just play my songs and walk out, or I can go out here and really try to steal a show and take these 10,000 people that are already fans of Bastille and make them fans of mine as well,
Yeah, man. And it
Yeah.
was, I mean, I'm really glad because I'm just scared of everything. You know what I mean? Like driving, I'm like 90. I'm like, oh, this is scary.
Yeah,
Anything
yeah.
and everything. Going to the grocery store, I'm terrified. But like, I was really proud to like be like, man, I started something there, like with that mindset.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Wow. And then, so off the success of that first record, then this new album, is that the next thing you've put out?
Yeah, so I had to put out a little EP, like, because we were on tour for so long, and we pretty much exhausted Plastic Soul. So I recorded a couple songs real quick and put it out. So that was a quick little EP, but then it became time. It was like, all right, we need to start focusing on getting a next record because I knew it's very that my band is very much like Mono Cosmo is like we put out albums. Like
Hmm.
it's tough because I see a lot of people put out singles and I'm like, man, that's awesome. I wish I could just do it, but I'm like, I need to have a full length thing. I need the artwork. It needs to be a complete thought for me to like really believe in it.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I started. We did our last show in Montauk, and then we flew back, and that's when I started writing the next record.
Wow. And the next, this new album that you've just released, you had Butch Vig. Did he produce the album?
No, man, Butch just became this like I was after the year and a half of touring that we did.
Hmm.
I was pretty fried, man. I was because it was the first time I've ever had any kind of success in the sense that people wanted to talk to me or shake my hand or
Hmm.
I was doing every morning radio show. I was doing every meet and greet. I was doing every after party. I was just fried emotionally,
Sure.
spiritually. I was just tired. And I was also super scared to start writing because I didn't know what I wanted the record to sound like, and I was worried I was going to have that sophomore slump. And I was helping a friend. Her name's LP do a song. She asked me to write with her. I was like, okay, I'll write
Mhm.
with her.
Yeah,
So
I know that. I know her name.
she's lovely, and
Hmm.
she uh, she was working on a song with Butch Vig at the time as well.
Oh.
And it was around this time that somebody sent me a Twitter link that was like, "You got to see this," and it's Butch Vig being interviewed, and they're like, "Butch, what new music have you heard that you'd recommend for people?" And he's like, "There's this guy named Mondo Cozmo. He's got a song called 'Hold On to Me,' and it's all I really like it." And my head exploded because it's freaking Butch Vig, and
Sure.
I immediately like texted my brother. I'm like, "Dude."
Oh my God. Yeah.
Was just freaking out. And
Guy only produced like the most iconic record of all
like,
time.
defined my teenage years,
Yeah.
just like
Sure.
I was shocked. And then when LP was telling me that she was working on a song with Butch, I told her the story about the Twitter thing, and she's like, "You should meet with him." I'm like, "I'm not meeting with Butch. No way. I'll mess it up. I'll totally fanboy, and he'll never like me." And she's like, "No, you should meet with him." So she puts me in touch with him, and I go over to his house, and I walk in. You walk through the door, and there's like a picture of him and Kurt Cobain, and it's like not a picture that's like
Right.
people have ever seen before.
All
So
over the internet or
yeah,
something.
it, like hit me. I'm like, man, this dude was like a part of these people's lives,
Yeah.
And it was super humbling. I was just like, oh man, what am I doing? I'm such a phony. What am I doing here? And we went down and we listened to some music, and man, he was what I needed in the sense that I was pretty broken at the time, and I wasn't feeling very confident in anything I was writing, and it started this friendship. And I would, to the point where every day I would text him a song idea I was working on, and he would respond. He would respond either right away or later that day, but he would
Wow.
respond to everything I sent. And I was just like, I have the world's guru on speed dial, and he's into it. And it encouraged me to write more because I was like, man, I want to blow Butch's mind. Like I am going
Mhm.
to really push this. And so in the sense that he didn't produce it, I think he knew that I needed to do it myself because
Mhm.
I think if I were to go into a studio with a producer and a band, I would just end up making a rock and roll record.
Mhm.
And I've done that so many times, and as much as I appreciate it, I get more excited as an artist recording something might that only I could do if I'm sitting in my room, for 8 hours trying to make like an R&B thing work. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I'm more excited when we recorded Upside Down. I was like, this is insane. I love this. What even is? I don't even get it, but I love it.
Yeah.
Um, but with Butch, it was the friendship I needed. It was the
Mhm.
guidance that I really craved, and the encouragement was really, man, again, along with Peter Hayes, just a saving grace for me, and just having one of the most important people in the past 30 years of rock and roll just pushing you on. Man,
Mhm.
that was nice.
Yeah. Probably pretty validating for you, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So you'd send Butch the song, and then he would just kind of tell you what he thought of it, or would he give you like critiques?
Yeah, he's really obviously really great at talking to artists. So
Mm-hmm.
he's really encouraging with how he, like, if you have a tune that he thinks is good, he'll let you know. But he also has a great way of letting you know that maybe you should focus on other songs because the song is obviously terrible.
Okay.
So he just has this magical way of never being negative, but
Mm-hmm.
just like kind of not forcing, but like guiding you to work on the more strong stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
it's such a gift the way he just man, and it's very true. Like that quote about him, like every band that makes that record with Butch, it's their best record. And I think it's because he helps guide the songs, you know.
Hmm.
And it was just really cool. I mean, as Butch is probably very expensive to get you to work on his record, and he didn't make any money. He was
I
just a
would think so.
friend, you know. There's no way I can afford this guy. He's like Dave Grohl, like,
Sure.
but he's just a friend, and he loves music, and it's just so beautiful.
That's amazing. That's so cool that you got it. Like, I mean, you have that friendship with him where it's like, hey, can you check this out? And like, let me know, or he'll send you some ideas. Like, wow. And were you recording that record all by yourself?
Yeah, so I record everything in this room essentially. It's like
Wow.
I like the small room. I like to write in the morning where it's quiet, and only thing I can't do is drums. So we would go down. There's a studio in Los Angeles, in Boyle Heights, called Palomino, which is a really
Hmm.
great studio, and it's not as expensive as some of the studios in Hollywood and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So we were able to go in, and the weird thing with Mondo is the last thing to happen is the real drums. So it's kind
Hmm.
of cool when it's the moment when the song comes to life.
Hmm.
So because up to that point, it's either no drums or it's just like a temporary like loop or
Yeah.
something. And man, that was really exciting. Like to go in and hear Black Cadillac come to life and Come On come to life. It was just like, whoa, I got a record on my hands.
Yeah.
This isn't terrible.
Did you play the drums, or did you hire somebody to play drums?
No, yeah, I can't. It's the only thing I really like. I can play guitar and bass and piano and keyboards and stuff. Like I like to do that all myself because I feel when I get other people to do that stuff, it's a little too technical for me. I like it to be like kind of
A little more
terrible. It's
like
like,
looser, kind of.
yeah, I like a little bit of shit on it. Like it's
Yeah.
not. um, and then But with drums, man, I am super hard on drummers. So I had different drummers for each song. Leah from Black Rebel came and did drums on
Oh,
a couple songs. She
cool.
crushed. And then this guy named Sean Friday, who's just become one of my favorite drummers. He's in a band called Dead Sarah, and we really hit it off during the making of the record. And he played on a lot of the songs.
That's
Really,
cool.
yeah,
Rad. That's really cool. And then you also had Dan Wilson from Semisonic on the album.
yeah.
Wow. Tell me about working with him. What song did he help you with or work on?
Danny I call him Danny. He hates it, but Danny is just he's like the songwriting guru. Whenever like a big artist needs a big song, I think they call Danny,
Yeah.
He's a master. Um so I don't really write with a lot of people. It just never works for me, and it's always my fault. It's never anybody else's fault. It's just me not being able to like figure it out with somebody else in the room.
Hmm.
Um And so Dan is one of those people that I will drive to his house. I will sit in there and we will try to write together. He just has such a gift, a melodic gift especially. Um, but for man, we tried so many times and we just never wrote anything of substance that would, make a record. But we had so much fun just hanging out. Like he kept being like, "Yeah, Josh, come over." He's really busy. Like he writes every day with a pretty big artist. So
Yeah, he's got a crazy resume of bands that he's worked with and different people that he's worked with. It's crazy.
so getting time with the dude is pretty precious.
Yeah.
And he just kept being like, "Josh, come over," and we would, for the most part, just sit around and talk about music, or talk about life, and we eat lunch together, and it was just so cool. Like I think he gave me friendship when I really needed it, and
Hmm.
I think the biggest thing he did was he didn't put pressure on me, and I was getting a lot of pressure.
But yeah, I was just looking at Dan Wilson's resume of artists. Like he's worked with Taylor Swift and Phonogram and Bishop Briggs and Alec Benjamin and Jason Mraz. Like it's nuts.
Dude, he's like, yeah, that Phanogram record he worked on is like really great too. Man, just like he's just the guy you want in the room. He's just so friendly and so polite and so respectful of the songs. he doesn't try. He's got this gift where he doesn't really put his fingerprints on it. He leads you to it, so that it's not like, oh, this is a Dan Wilson chorus. He's like, it's a Mondo Cozmo chorus, but he got you there. It's really beautiful.
Sure. That's awesome. That's really cool that you got to work with him as well. Wow.
Yeah.
And then so I did read that with this new album, you're sending like handwritten letters with people that have ordered the vinyl, and that's
And, brother, I felt really awkward because when the pandemic happened, I was just like, people were out of work, so we couldn't tour. I knew I was stressed. Everyone was stressed, and I, I told my team, I'm like, look, I feel really uncomfortable with selling T-shirts to a kid that his parents can't pay rent, right? So I was like, I was really struggling with it. So here I was, I wasn't on tour, and I was like, what is something cool I could do to really thank the people that have spent their hard-earned money on a record? So I have this old typewriter that I write my lyrics on, and I was like, I'm just gonna write everyone a hand-typed thank you letter, and I'll address it to them, and if I know anything about them, I'll try to put that in the letter as well. And I thought it would kind of be a cool thing, and man, it turned into like 2 weeks of every day just sitting there and just
typing.
typing. And it was cathartic, I guess, and it was beautiful. It was a lot. I don't know if I'll ever do that again because it was just really, really intense. And my spelling is wrong, and there's no fixing a typewriter. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
just like it is me on paper. But the messages I'm getting now of people being like, dude, thank you. Like, that's really nice. Like, I'm so thankful to them for, because you can just go to Spotify and listen to it, but it's like they bought the record and they bought the bundle, and man, that is just, it keeps gas in the tank, keeps food on the table, it's like, how am I not going to thank them as much as I can? So in that sense, it's cool because if this pandemic wasn't happening, I would be on tour and I wouldn't be able to do anything like that, so it was nice to do something like that.
That's really cool. Are you still doing the handwritten letters, or did you have to kind of put it on pause?
I got them all, like, I got the bulk of them all out and shipped. But yeah, it took 14 days to get it done. But yeah, I have another list now coming up of people, because people are seeing them online and they're like, I want one of those. I'm like, shit.
Right.
Like,
I know. I'm just looking at your website now. I think I'm going to order one too.
yeah.
That's cool. I've never heard of that before. That's awesome. Because a lot of people will sell it where you can buy it like pre-signed or like that, but to have like a hand typed letter from the artist that you're buying the record from, that's really something that not many people would do.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I think that's really, really cool that you did that, or are doing that, man. That's so. And then so you're doing the handwritten letters with every vinyl order, and you've been doing like private Zoom shows, and tell me about those.
I haven't been doing like, I know bands that are doing like, give me money and I'll come play a Zoom party for you, and I'm like,
yeah,
I can't do that. I'm struggling with that. I've gotten a couple offers to do it, and I'm like, you know what, I can't charge you for this. I don't know. I don't feel right about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with the Upside Down, started doing well at radio, so every day I would have to do like a Zoom radio thing,
Sure, yeah.
And it just, God bless him. Like, I don't know how, it's the same thing. I mean, it's some dude sitting on a couch playing acoustic. And Upside Down just doesn't translate to acoustic. I'm like, I'll play this. It's terrible. So it's been tough, The first 30 were fine, Now I'm just like, I'm just ready to get back to full band, Like, these songs are not, they work on acoustic, but it's like, man, I wrote this record to tour off of, Like, I want it to be loud and obnoxious, and so that's been it's been interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I know it's weird because you want to promote the album, but it's it's
Yeah.
all live stream. But the thing I think is cool about the live stream stuff is like you get to see where your favorite artists kind of live. I mean, for like
Yeah.
if you played right there, people are like, "Whoa, wouldn't have never known what his studio looks like," or
Yeah.
or if it's somebody in their living room, like, "Whoa, that's Dave Grohl's living room," or whoever it is. You know what I mean? I think that's rad. It gives like a
It
behind the
does.
curtain peek to people.
Yeah, it's been a lot of behind the curtain the past 6 months, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I mean, I'm sure if they went and saw you live, they wouldn't have any idea that they're
That I
looking at your
blew.
studio right now. Yeah. I don't know. That's so cool. I think it's rad.
That's
Um,
true.
so after the pandemic lifts, I hope artists are still kind of doing these every once in a while. I think they're pretty rad.
It's gonna be
Uh,
interesting when like it all kicks, when knock on wood, we're all able to go back on tour and stuff. Like how this year will translate to future how people deal with fans and letting them in, because we've had, bands have had to let people into their lives. It's been interesting.
yeah, because right prior to the pandemic, I felt like more and more artists were doing you can pay a little bit more and you can watch us do a sound check and then take a picture, doing like those kind of intimate little performances for a handful of people prior to the show.
Yeah.
And like obviously that's going to be much more difficult unless it's just distanced, like watch the performance and they're like, you're standing 6 feet apart from people,
Yeah.
like waving. Like I don't, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when it all, comes back around. But
Yeah.
I did see that you did Upside Down on Colbert.
That
That's
was
pretty dope.
that was great. Like I was like right when the record came out, they're like, "We booked Colbert." I was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing. Great work."
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I'm like, "Well, how does this work? What do we do?" They're like, "Well, you have to film it, record it, edit it, and then send it in." I was like, "Oh boy."
Wait.
I'm like, "Are you sure? Like, what if it's terrible?" They're like, "Well, this is what's happening." So it was it was cool because I didn't want to do upside down acoustic because I'm like, this isn't gonna be good. So I was like, I want a full band thing, but Colbert was like, you have to social distance. You can't hand in something where you're not, or we won't air it. And I was like, that's fair.
Mhm.
So I was in Los Angeles, and we were moving out of the house that we lived in for 7 years, and it was kind of a heavy moment for me because that's where I recorded Plastic Soul, and I recorded everything. I just it was sad in the sense that we were leaving, but it was also like happy to kind of be getting out of town a little bit.
Mhm.
So the house was empty, nothing, and I was like, let's just record it in here. Let's record it in this house before the neighbors call the cops. We'll get one take. And so the drummer is set up in the living room. I set up in my studio where I recorded everything. The drummer or the bass player was in the kitchen, and Drew, the guitar player, was in the guest bedroom. And we social distance, even setting up. We had masks and gloves on. We did
Mhm.
everything we could, and man, but the thing was, I wanted the excitement of being on Colbert, of doing a late night spot, because we could have recorded it 5 times and picked the best one.
Mhm.
And I was like, I want one take. I want us to, if we mess up, that is what I'm sending them. You know what I mean? So do not mess up. But you can see the excitement in the band because it was the first time we've even made noise in months and
Mhm.
and played together. So that was really cool, and I was really proud of us for getting it on the first take.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
a great way to look at it too. It's just, well, if we were playing live on Colbert, this is what would happen anyway. So
yeah,
let's just do
no,
it.
you know.
And I love the acoustic version of Cigarette that you
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
what a
thank you.
beautiful song.
Yeah, that one. I love that tune. I get a lot of messages on that, which is pretty cool because it's the last song on the record. So I was like,
Mhm.
I didn't know if people would make it to the last song. So, it's like
Yeah.
the record's. I was really proud of the running order, and we put so much effort into like how the timing between the songs, and just everything about it. I was really proud of that, and I felt like that was a really good song to go out on.
Yeah, I love the performance that you put on. It's like on YouTube. I saw it on YouTube and Instagram. It's
Oh, thank
yeah, it's beautiful. I love it, man. And well, like, so was it weird putting the record out, in the midst of all this? Like, did you think about not, or I mean, how did that work?
We talked about it in, I think, April or May. There was talk of pushing it to the fall, and I didn't. I was like, no, people need music right now. Like, I need music. Like, I think we should just put it out, and just roll the dice. I know we can't tour off of it, which sucks, but I just think, and I'm glad we did, because I
Mhm.
get like the messages I get from folks is like, man, this brightened my day. Like, how cool is that to like be able to
Yeah.
be part of like brightening someone's day right now? I take a lot of pride in that. That is rad. Um, and also I'm like, you know what? I'm home. I can't tour, so I'm gonna be writing and recording, and I'm sure that we're gonna put out a record really soon, or not soon, but probably next year, So I'm like, let's just
Yeah.
get this out. And also, I think I mean, what a moment in history where no bands are touring. Every artist is home right now writing their masterpiece.
Right.
I'm like,
Every
this,
artist in the whole world, which is even more bizarre to think
yeah.
about.
I'm like, there's gonna be such an influx of amazing music coming out. I'm like, let's just get this out and let's focus on the future while paying respect to this record. So it was hard. I think we did the right thing because it looks like even if we would have released it in the fall, we still wouldn't have been able to tour off of it. So
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be touring until next year for sure. It's weird that like this whole year is just like a bust as
yeah,
far as like artists touring and all
it
stuff like
is like,
that.
and it's like you can't even make plans for next year because it's like I don't know if it's gonna be spring, summer, fall. I don't, you know what I mean? It's like I don't know. It sucks.
Yeah, and bands are probably trying to struggle to book out. Like, I'm sure all the bands from 2020 that were supposed to tour have already booked out 2021 and like trying to figure out how to get into certain venues and shows. I mean, I bet it's got to be a nightmare for booking agents and everything right now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of booking agents are losing their jobs. It's just like it's sad, man. It's like a lot of clubs, the smaller clubs are just going under, and man,
Yeah,
it's
that's
gonna be it's gonna be different when it comes back, and it's sad. Man, yeah.
yeah. It's I mean, especially for those smaller clubs because I feel like the first stuff that's going to come back are the smaller clubs because they can, obviously you could do like 50 to 100 people instead of 200, but like the big obviously arena shows and stuff aren't going to happen. But like a lot of the best clubs are really hurting right now as far as money goes, and are they going to be around when everything opens up? It's yeah, it sucks.
And those are like the magic clubs. Like that's where you see like the bands coming up that'll eventually be playing the arenas. It's like that's my
Mhm.
favorite.
Yeah, I know seeing bands before they hit the arena, but like hopefully these
Yeah.
places will be able to carry on through all of this, but I don't
Yeah.
know, man. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild, but thank you so much for chatting with me today. I really appreciate it. This has been
Brother,
awesome.
thank you for doing your research. Sometimes doing these, it's like they pretty much make you do it. I'm like, so I appreciate you knowing your stuff.
Of course, man. I'm a huge fan of the band.
Thank
I
you.
love the new record. It looks like as far as your Spotify plays on the album, it's crushing as well. So
No
I
worries.
love it.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. I have one more question for you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yeah, I do. I I offer three pieces of advice. I offer write as many songs as you can, play as many shows as you can. But the best piece of advice I can give anybody is just to be polite. I can't tell you how many doors that's opened for me. It's just like from meeting Peter and being polite to Butch Vig. Like, he wouldn't talk to me if I was a jerk. You know what I mean? Or
Sure.
getting Anna Faris to be in videos. It was like, it all stems from like that moment of being polite and looking somebody in the eyes when you talk to them, I guess. That's the best piece of advice I can give anybody.